Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast from still the aforementioned Chase Thomas coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me from FANRUN Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. You can hear him on Under Review 10 to 1, right before the Chase from 1 to 3 on FANRUN Radio, because he doesn't talk enough. I don't talk enough Monday through Friday on the radio. We also talk here. Sam, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon, Chase. I'm doing great, man. Always a fun time to hop on and dive a little bit deeper maybe than some of the conversations we have on the radio. So it's always a good time to kind of get into the weeds of Tennessee sports, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, never ends over here.
Yeah, I just think it's different. You know, now that I'm doing both every day, they're just different. They're fun in different ways. You know, I think they challenge you in different ways. They're different kinds of conversations. They're different. It's just different ways of going about it. And I just think it's fun to get both sides of it and have different kinds of conversations and flex different muscles, because I think there's a place for both. And I don't know, I enjoy both, and both are very different in very different ways.
Absolutely. No, I do. You know, I feel like some of the stuff that maybe you get in on here, it's a little bit kind of deeper and more in depth, and you get in on the radio and you're like, do people really want to hear about this type of thing? But then, you know, there's plenty of people out there that are like, give me more. I want some more X's and O's talk, and which guy do you feel like is going to break out this year and stuff like that. So yeah, I agree with you. It's fun to be able to kind of have that switch, and you especially being able to kind of do it just about every single day, being radio every day, and then having this podcast roll out all the time. I'm sure it's fun for you to kind of scratch that itch.
Yeah, it's just different. Like, it's different kinds of conversations, you know, and I like having them both, and having all you guys on here as well, as we just, you know, we cross-pollinate here on the Chase Thomas podcast. So when we talk about Vols baseball, this is something that we've been talking on the Chase on the radio this week and a little bit of last week. Now that we have a little bit more clarity in terms of what the roster is going to ultimately look like at post-draft. Granted, there are going to be some big-time decisions that Tony and his staff are going to have to make that are arduous, that I do not envy the situation that Tony and his staff are going to be in to get that number from the mid-ish 40s to... It's still confusing because, like, the DSA part of it, where I don't know how many, and then the schools might have a play, and like how many they can have, and like how many can get grandfathered in. So I think it's still going to be kind of unclear for a while, but somewhere we know around 34 to like 37 ish is probably the number, somewhere around there. Maybe you can get up to like 38, 39. We'll see on the DSA part of it, but we have a good idea of what the roster is going to be. We know Henry Ford's going to be on campus. We know Cameron Appenzeller is going to be on campus. We surprisingly know Ethan Moore is going to be on campus, and we know potentially with Reese Chapman going undrafted that Reese Chapman might be back on campus in 2026 as well, which is a big surprise and a big win potentially for Tennessee. But I'm curious. I talked to Blake Ruffino of AYS Sports last week about this, the LSU part of it, because LSU and Tennessee basically run the top of the SEC right now, year in, year out. They won the last 3 titles, and there's probably a good chance that one of the two will be the favorite going into next year to win it all in Omaha. But what are the 2 reasons that you are most confident when you look at this Tennessee roster in 2026 that you think they will be the best team in the SEC again?
So the 2 things that jump out to me, I would say both kind of related to the draft and how kind of a surprise it was that, you know, some of these prospects that you mentioned there at the start were able to get on campus. And for me, the first thing is going to be, I think you're going to have a reliable guy at that DH spot. And I feel like that was a role this year that was a little bit up and down. You know, you had some success there kind of in the early season, and then you kind of got into SEC play, and I thought you kind of hit some lulls, and you just didn't have as much consistency as you had in that national championship season. So to me, guys like Henry Ford being able to get on campus, you know, the JUCO player, Tyler Myatt, like that's a guy that I feel like has a lot of juice and a lot of potential. I think there's going to be a lot of guys that are kind of vying for that spot. And to your original point about, man, I don't envy the decision-making that Tony and his staff have to do. I think it's a great point. And I also think it's one that it's a good problem to have, because I think you've got a lot of options there. So middle of the order production to me is one of the reasons why. And another one, high leverage arms that you can kind of go to in the bullpen. Now, I think there was a portion of the time there where you're thinking, and we don't even have left-handed pitching on this roster, and we don't have our starting lineup really filled out yet. Like, where are some of these innings going to come from? And then you get some of these decisions, and a Cameron Appenzeller, you get him onto campus and stuff like that. And you get some left-handed arms out of the portal. And to me, that gives you a lot more wiggle room on guys that you can kind of say, hey, we've got the starting rotation figured out. Something to me that I thought was just a massive advantage in that national championship season was you had guys like Kirby Connell and Xander Seacrest who could give you 1 inning, or they could give you 4 1/3 or something like that. And so I think there's a lot of wiggle room on this roster with guys that can kind of maybe have had some starter roles or some extended reliever roles in their previous teams, and now they can kind of just fight it out. Hey, we'll have an opportunity for you to maybe win that starting job. If not, we're going to be a high leverage guy that we can kind of turn to in the bullpen. So to me, I think just kind of overall depth in both the DH spot and some high leverage reliever arms are why I feel pretty confident.
Yeah, I just think what they've done in the bullpen, especially to your point, like there's only 3 weekend spots, right? And it's just going to be really interesting to see how Frank and his staff handles Tuesdays now, because Tuesday with a 34-man roster, you're not going to do the 10 pitchers, what they do, and they
Johnny
rotate in and out. Yeah, like it's going to be a real game. Like it's going to be a real guy that they're going to have to try out. Whether that's maybe Anson Siebert, kind of strikes me as like a good bet for potentially to be a Tuesday guy. But that's someone who is a big-time prospect and someone that Tennessee was fortunate to get to campus last year, and he missed all last year due to injury. But he should be ready to go. Like this is not an AJ Russell situation for him ramping up pushing up towards the start of the season. Like he should be all go this fall and into winter and fall camp and all that. But like to your point, I mean, I think a lot of fans were freaking out because of the mass exodus in the bullpen. And to me, it's kind of the stark contrast between Tony Vitello's program and Josh Heupel's, where you have this mass exodus at receiver in the December window for Tennessee. And you're like, okay, well, what are we doing? And it's like Dane Key going to Nebraska, Isaiah Horton on his way to Alabama. And you're looking around, you're like, oh, Kevin Coleman to Mizzou. And we're like, all right, so you're just not going to do anything, huh? Like, it's just, okay, we're just going to go super young. All right, fine. Tennessee was like, well, we're going to go super young with our blue chippers. We have some coming in that we feel pretty good about. Like Cameron Appenzeller might be that guy. Anson Siebert might be that guy. Like we're going to bet on some of our young talent that we're going to keep around. But we're also going to go out and we're going to get Brady Frederick. We're going to go get Bo Rudy. We're going to go get Mark Hindy. We're going to go get insert guy after guy after guy. And I mean, Clay Edmondson, that one would have been nice also to get to campus, but he doesn't get to campus. That's fine. But they addressed both, right? Like they were like, this is not, I mean, Tony was open about it. Like the bullpen was not good enough this past year. And it was just really bizarre that Frank, who's obviously the best pitching coach in the sport, just had so many problems finding guys he could count on in the bullpen this year. And I just think they've done such a big time job of replacing that, where I just have a hard time believing this bullpen and this rotation even is not going to be a whole lot more reliable. It's going to be a whole lot older, and you're going to be mixed in with top 100 blue chippers. So, man, I'm with you. I think the bullpen to me was such a problem last year that like all these guys can't be weekend starters because you have Braden Krenzel. Is he going to be like, he's one of 6 guys who are competing. And if he's a long relief guy, and if Brandon Harvinson is a long relief guy and someone you can use twice on the weekend because you can't fit him in as one of these weekend starters because you've got Blanco in there, you've got Landon Mack, and you've got Teagan, man, I just think that's a great problem for Tennessee to have. And to your point, I just think it's going to be one of the best in the SEC and all of college baseball next year.
I think there's potential where there's 3 to 4 arms in your bullpen that are just going to be SEC caliber starter guys that kind of what Nick Saban was able to stash on his bench back in his heyday at Alabama. It kind of feels like Tony's going to be able to do the same there and just say, all right, well, sorry, we've only got 3 weekend spots to obviously give out. But to your point, a Brady Frederick, a guy that has got some starter experience. I just think there's going to be so many guys. Brandon Arvidsson just coming back into the fold, I think completely changed the outlook on my opinion for this 26 team and beyond. And I just think you've got a lot of wiggle room and you've got a lot of chances for guys to kind of take on different roles. And we've seen in the past, Vitello and Frank Anderson have done a fantastic job of kind of fitting different guys and different pieces in the puzzle. And they've been really successful at it. So you got to just kind of trust your coaches at this point. You know that you've got the talent and the product on the field. It's really just up to them to kind of find the niche spot for each guy on that roster.
The most important year 2 player for Tennessee football next season, and this could be second year in the program, like a true freshman or a sophomore or a redshirt freshman or a second year transfer. Who is it for you? Most important year 2 player.
It's going to sound like a chalky and easy answer, but I'm just going to go Mike Matthews. And I think, when we talk about kind of the struggles that we've seen from the receiving room, whether it's just staying healthy or overall production, sure, a lot of that maybe last year had come to some quarterback issues, being able to get them the ball in some of those, down the field options. But to me, I think when you talk about how, to the point that you made, you didn't go out and didn't get talent in the portal. You went and you said, hey, I'm going to trust the guys that are in my locker room right now and trust the blue chip talent that we've brought in. I think Mike Matthews is like the number one guy on that list in terms of, you better have him play like a 5-star, because if he's not playing like a 5-star, then I think that room quickly becomes one that not only is just like a worry, but one that maybe holds you back in some games. So I think you can mix in Braylon Staley even in that conversation as well. Just those two young guys that you are really relying on to be able to be productive guys for you this season. I have to go Mike Matthews and say, I need my 5-stars to play like 5-stars, and in a room that has had some trouble staying healthy, I need him to be able to play there all season.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of one of those things where I would not be surprised. Well, part of it, like Mike spent the spring, didn't he go out to California to throw with Nico? And it's just like, the guy can't catch a break, man. He was like, what happened last year was, I think, just a huge misfire in so many different ways, where like Mike should have played a lot more last year. Like Braylon was kind of blocked. Squirrel was injured. Like you could make the case that maybe Braylon should have gotten more run with Squirrel just being injured for the majority of last year. But you also had Chaz Nimrod. There was other options. Like Mike should have been playing more. Like with the situation that you were in, I mean, Dante, with the amount of snaps that he was available, Dante was still 25 yards per reception, led all of FBS. Dante was great. But like Brew was not the same guy. Brew was not that guy. And like, love Brew, but it was not good. Brew led Tennessee in receptions last year, right? If I remember correctly.
I hope not.
I think he either led Tennessee in reception or yards. It was something.
You might be right about I want to say Thornton led the team in yards and maybe Brew in catches.
Yeah, it was, and it's just Brew, I will maintain, before the injury in 23 was on his way to a really good year. I think he looked different. It just sucks. Like the Brew thing just was a bummer, but I do think Mike should have been playing more, so that you have a little bit better of an understanding about like what he's ultimately going to be for Tennessee this year. He's twitchy. He had that. I mean, he mossed a dude in the Kent State game, and you saw the flashes, right? Like you saw the flashes in the orange and white game last year, that he's different. Like he is a guy who played both ways in high school, Parkview, safety, receiver. He's twitchy. He's fast. He should be somebody who's a good yak guy. But now he's like being thrown into a fire again with a quarterback potentially who got there in late May. And he's going to have to learn on the fly to build this chemistry all over again. I don't know. I don't envy the spot that he's going to be in, because I think fans have high expectations for Mike. And it's like, what if it's not like, this might not be a Mike problem? Like, what if Joey Aguilar is just completely inaccurate and kind of that guy we saw last year and less the guy that you saw on tape in 23? Or it's Jake and they go into a shell because they're trying to protect their young quarterback and they want to ease him into it. Don't let him lose his confidence. And they go 12 personnel a bunch and they run the ball down your throat. And it's more of what we've seen the last 2 years. People are like, oh, then what's the point of Mike Matthews? Mike isn't breaking out. It's like, there's a lot going on, because last year it wasn't just the receivers. It wasn't just the quarterback. It wasn't just the tackles. It was a collection of issues all season long. So I don't know. I do think Mike now can't really hide, because they did not add a veteran receiver to help out here. That they were just like, all right, Chris Brazzell, you're our veteran in the group and we need you to help lead and make that year 2 jump. But yeah, I mean, the expectations are real for Mike. Because I mean, the other part of it is that like he flirted with the portal. So I think fans are already like, well, we backed you and we were kind of wishy-washy here, and we thought you should have played more last year, and now this is time. Like, I'm still like, maybe it's not necessarily time. It's his second year in the system. Like he's still a true sophomore, and I'm still a believer in Mike, and I still think he can be a good player. But I also think the circumstances this year just aren't ideal to a full breakout year. I just feel like Miles Kitselman is going to be the main target for whoever it is. And if Mike breaks out, that's awesome. But I think there are some things that are out of Mike's control that kind of worry me.
Yeah. And like, with the uncertainty that you've got now at the quarterback position, with the injuries that you had in the wide receiver room last year, you would have thought, hey, this is a great time to go let Mike Matthews kind of take the training wheels off a little bit, get his feet wet, learn what it's like to be playing some SEC football and play against some high-level competition, and kind of get some of those growing pains out of the way, while also having a little bit better of a baseline kind of knowledge of just, hey, what is this guy going to bring to the table for me next year? Would that have changed this staff's opinion on, hey, do I go out there and get a veteran in the portal type of thing? But now you're really having to rely on, just the talent that they're seeing in practice that we don't see, and not against SEC competition, just week to week type of thing. You're obviously playing SEC competition in practice, but translating those practice plays all the way to the game. Now you're going in and you're already kind of worried a little bit about the quarterback position and what that's going to bring. Now you've got to say, hey, my 5-star wide receiver hasn't exactly played much football either. It's a tough combination. It's one that you are really putting a lot of trust into Heupel and his offensive staff. And I think that's why I just keep going back to this year. We're going to figure out more than ever kind of what Josh Heupel is as a coach and what his staff is able to do development wise, being able to just kind of translate their evaluations to guys on the field, because I think they're coming to a little bit of a crossroads here on, you got to have guys that you've stashed away for a year or so now to be able to really emerge and not only be just productive players, but they need to be playmakers for you as well.
Big year for Mike. I hope it works out, because Mike breaking out would be a whole lot of fun, because Mike, that's 2 years potentially, maybe even 3. Who knows? Probably
the number change gets me excited, Chase. I'm a big guy on numbers. He looks sharp.
4 is perfect. He was, I believe, 4 in high school. 4 is a good outside receiver number. I think Braylon even in the slot. Like, I like 14 in the slot for Braylon.
Yeah.
Tight end's a different story. Tight end was a disaster class. Jack Van Dorselaer getting 3 and Brame getting 9 was just, or 7. I think Brame's 7. Now that I think about it, right? Remember correctly? Brame's another single digit one. He's either 7 or 9. And I'm like, no, we have this great thing where maybe it's after Kitzelman leaves, but Heupel did not ask my opinion, but if he, a longtime friend of the show, frequent listener, Josh Heupel, when he listens to this, I would like to encourage him to put a bylaw in the locker room that Miles Kitzelman, once he graduates on, Van Dorselaer gets 87, and we keep that going from Warren to Kitzelman to Van Dorselaer. And then when Brame starts becoming a factor next year, you're 88 and you're a Princeton fan. Like that was arguably Tennessee's best, like multi-dimensional tight end of the 4 years of Heupel's. Like, it just is a great tight end number. I like 88. I like 87. Just, I don't like single digit tight end numbers. And maybe it's just because Kyle Pitts has scarred me in Atlanta for the last 4 years of my life. But like, just, I don't like it. It looks weird. Like, especially when they're inline blocking and just seeing a number 3. And then, what are we doing, David Hobbs? I like you. I've gotten to bat for you the last couple of years, and we're going in single digits in the interior. What are we doing? Can't happen.
I will say single digit interior linemen are either like NFL all pros or just total busts. So we're going to figure out a lot about David Hobbs, I think, as well.
Oh man.
I love projecting guys' careers off of their numbers. It's my favorite thing to overreact on.
Dude, I like Jordan Burns at 11 getting Keenan Peele's number. I'm like, I'm buying Jordan Burns stock. Like, just that guy learned something. He's like, Peele's a good leader. I'm jumping into that.
I'd like for somebody at the Tennessee media days to just be like, Coach, can you give us any idea on a number change, kind of changing the outlook on a player for you this season, if you think he's going to really step out onto the scene now that he's got a new number on his back?
He'd love. I mean, honestly, based on this summer, he might prefer answering a question like that than what he might be asked next week. Are you with Klatt on selling on Tennessee football this year?
I guess in the sense of like college football playoff appearance again, I would say I'm selling that, but I'm not selling Tennessee in terms of being just a 6-6 football team all of a sudden. Like we saw Tennessee, Josh Heupel has made a 7-win program in his first year here. And, that was basically just going up and down the field in about 45 seconds each time and saying, hey, defense, I need you to go out there and play 40 minutes a game, essentially. And you still were able to scrape out 7 wins. So I just feel like Josh Heupel has done a fantastic job of creating a really safe floor for this Tennessee football program. And I think that floor is at 7 wins at the minimum, maybe. And I expect something in the 8 to 9 region this year. If you want to say that that's selling Tennessee stock, then I guess you can go ahead and say that. But for some sort of drastic setback from last year to this year. I just don't really see it. I still believe in this defense. I still believe in the guys that you've got on that defensive line. I really like this linebacker room. I think there's some talent in that secondary, obviously, that you really need to be able to translate onto the field now, but I feel pretty solid about that group. I like the transfers that you brought in on your offensive line, even though you're replacing a lot there. Center is kind of the big question mark for me, going from a guy just in Cooper Mays to, William Satterwhite, who hasn't really seen the field. And then I'm just always going to trust the run game with Josh Heupel. And you've been able to do it by committee. You've been able to do it with guys that are not, 5-star talents. You've got guys that are coming in 3-star rankings, someone that's a walk-on, and Deshaun Bishop. I feel very good about being able to know that you're going to have a consistent run game. And so I thought you went to the college football playoff last year on run game and defense. So to me, I don't see a huge drop-off. So I guess I don't agree with Joel Klatt, but if he's saying, selling stock is not making it back to the playoff or something like that, I guess I can agree with him on that.
Yeah, it's just the have him number one is just very silly to me. Like, I think Heupel has earned the benefit of the doubt. 30 wins in 3 years, 19 the last 2 with below average quarterback play. I think he talked about, like, the weird thing too is I wonder what people would think. So much of it is Nico Iamaleava, right? Like that departure and when it happened. And I think Klatt even talked about that. Of like, it's just not ideal in terms of when Nico left in April. That being said, I mean, we talked about this on the show today. Was just that, like, the Boo part of it, like, this is even worse. Like, I've made the case that Boo not being a part of the program would be worse than Nico in 2025.
Totally agree.
The issue with Nico was the timing, not necessarily that Nico left. Because if Nico leaves in December, I think there is we'll never know for sure, but I feel very, very confident based on who they tried to reportedly get involved with in the spring window that Tennessee would have had an upgrade at quarterback in 2025 alone. Now, that's not to say that Nico couldn't have been better and been like, but he was still theoretical. Like, he still had a ways to go. Who they probably would have gotten in the portal is I don't want to say sure thing, but someone who would have been a plug and play, like, veteran guy to help. Like, Joey Aguilar would not have been choice one. Let's go ahead and say that. Like,
yeah.
And that's the part that I think a lot of folks are missing here when it comes to where Tennessee's at. Is just that, like, Aguilar was not call one. He wasn't even call one here in the spring window. Like, he would have been called 65th in the winter window if the Nico stuff had happened in January. But I don't know. I think people are overreacting still on the national level to Tennessee. It's just their front seven strong. They're in the blue chip, the positive 50% blue chip ratio for the first time since the former era. The numbers like Tennessee, the pundits do not. They're right there in the top 10-ish in S&P Plus. I just think the numbers, the defense, that what their trench play is going to look like, what the offensive line I think is going to look like, which I think is going to be really solid this year. They just have such a safe floor. It's an 8-4 safe type of floor that I just think it would be very hard for me to see a situation where the wheels come off and you have a 7-5 type 21 season for Tennessee. And that would just take a lot of injuries. That would take Boo Carter not being a part of this team. That would take a real implosion at quarterback this year, I think. But again, I just think their ability to run the football, where they're at tight end, where they're at in the offensive line, and where their front seven's at, I just have a hard time seeing less than 8 wins.
I think when it comes to, like, a national perspective, I think Tennessee's just a really easy target to say, oh, Dylan Sampson leaving the program, Nico Iamaleava, flashy 5-star on paper, he's leaving the program at an inopportune time. Some question marks in some other position groups, and you say, oh, all right, that's my team that made the playoff last year. That's not going to make it back. And I totally agree with everything you're saying. Like, are those departures going to, are you going to have to figure some things out from those guys? Absolutely. Is it impossible to replace them? I don't think so. And I think you're going to be able to somewhat replicate what you did in production with Dylan Sampson. Is it going to be just all one guy? Absolutely not. But I think you're going to be able to do it by committee. I think if you really got into the weeds on what Nico was doing as a passer last year, I don't think that's a super hard thing to replicate either. And you got to hope that just Joey Aguilar can kind of be that game manager guy and limit the turnovers and hit on a couple deep balls. We didn't ask a whole lot of the quarterback last year. I don't think you're going to be asking a whole lot of the quarterback this year. And I completely agree with you. I think that defense just continues to get better. You've got when you reference the blue chip ratio, you've got guys that you've been able to kind of stash away on their freshman season and develop them. And now they're going to be able to come out onto the scene and hopefully help this team. And I mean, I think Boo Carter is a huge piece of the puzzle here. I completely agree with you that he's more important than Nico was to this team. And I will say my outlook probably changes a little bit if Boo Carter's not playing football for you. But as it stands right now, I can't convince myself that Tennessee's going to take that drastic of a step back next year.
I'll be sick. And I'm so bullish on what he's going to be on special teams. There's no answer for him at star. Like, there is nothing. You have, I mean,
like, what do you
don't even know what a backup
Jordan
is.
Thomas? Like, is that what you go back to relying on?
I don't think Jordan Thomas is an option. So, I mean, Christian Harrison's at Cincinnati. Are you moving Caleb Beasley? Like, he's already changed positions once from corner to safety. Are you sliding him over to star? Are you throwing Colton Hood, the Colorado transfer? Just, hey, welcome to the SEC football. Get ready to learn star, the hardest position in the secondary. Like, all right, are you throwing Jalen McMurray there and then sliding Colton Hood at corner? But you just have no depth there suddenly outside of freshmen behind those guys. And the punt return part of it too is just, I think he's going to be special on special teams. And I think if an offense is struggling, like Tennessee's offense might be struggling early on next year, he can put the field. Like, he can be an impactful guy in so many different ways. I mean, we still don't know what he would factor in on offense in the slot and stuff, but I just think he has the potential to have his fingerprints all over winning football for Tennessee, and losing him, we're not there, but that would be brutal. Like, that would just be absolutely brutal. I've been leading he's the most talented player on this Tennessee roster all offseason. You know that, Sam. And it feels like a worse situation than Tyler Barron, where I was banging the Tyler Barron drum in 23 going into 24, where I was like, it's the Tony Romo. I don't know, Jim, about like, you're going to moneyball it. All right. We'll see if Jason Jenkins, Tyree West, and Dominic Bailey can match that, but it didn't work. And Pierce and Barron were a wrecking crew, 17 and a half sacks, whatever it was in 23. And you didn't rekindle that in 24. And I just think, you have to be careful, I mean, Jeremy Banks was a very important player for Tennessee at linebacker. You saw what life was like without Jeremy Banks in the South Carolina game in 22. And I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen there, but man, I don't even want to think about it. We're so close to the season starting. It just got to start. Get everyone here and let's just start the season. Cause I think once we get everybody on the same, like, just get everybody here. Let's start popping pads and let's just go. I can't take anymore. Tennessee fans can't take anymore. They're they're over it. Like, they are over this.
Yeah, no, I think it's a decision I do not envy Josh Heupel to have to make here, because we've clearly seen him choose kind of program culture over talent on paper, with Nico obviously in the winner. But I don't know. I think this is an even harder decision to have to make with Boo Carter, and just knowing that, the reasons that you laid out there, you're thin in the spot that he plays at defensively. He's a playmaker and a difference maker in special teams. He's a guy that you are thinking is going to have somewhat of a role on offense. Like, he touches every aspect of the field. And you saw in 2023 how important D. Williams was on special teams to this team when the offense wasn't really rolling at times, and being able to get a guy.
He saved the A&M game.
Exactly. I was just about to bring that up. Like, you've got a guy now in Boo Carter that you can say, throw out a, break glass in case of emergency. Oh man, the offense isn't really working, but I know I can get a 25-yard punt return out of Boo Carter that's going to turn Neyland on its head and get this environment back and rolling. And it's like, losing him, I got to imagine that this coaching staff is thinking, hey, how do we find a way for him to kind of mend the relationships maybe between him and the locker room that have kind of gone a little bit sour in the last couple of weeks? How do we get this guy back into our locker room and back in the fold and wanting to be a part of this team? Because he's an extremely, extremely important piece to Tennessee being able to just not be a disappointment this year.
No Boo and Joey Aguilar as QB1 is like a situation where, do you watch The Office?
I don't. I kind of am a hater of The Office, to be honest with you, Chase.
Oh,
I'm a Parks and Rec guy.
That's wild. I think you've got to be the only person in America who loves Parks and Rec and doesn't like The Office at all. I feel like there's just a Venn diagram of just a lot of people love both, and you're one of the lone people who are just not about it.
I will say, I don't know if I've really given The Office a fair shot.
Okay.
But I'm just, I guess it's one of those things that, like, you stay out on it because everybody else is all the way so in.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. If you didn't get in early on, I guess it's one of those. Yeah, I could see that. Well, there's a scene, Kevin. You won't get this reference, but it's like Michael's forcing him to eat broccoli in one of these staff meetings, and he's just like not having it at all. That's what it's going to feel like me watching Tennessee football this year. If
Yeah.
What I think is going to happen with Joey with no boo is just people every Saturday afternoon. You're just forcing broccoli in my face, and I'm just like, I don't want it. I don't want it. Like it's just, I don't know. I really hope that doesn't happen, man. It's gonna be brutal. Final thing, and I'll get you out of here on this. Wayback Machine. Favorite Vols football player on the 2021 team. And this is I thought this would be a fun off-season question for you.
I like the 2021 team a lot.
I do too.
I'm gonna go Cedric Tillman. I think he is the most talented receiver that has come through Tennessee in the Josh Heupel era. I know that, everyone has all the great memories with Jalen Hyatt and all the touchdowns that you saw him running with no defender between 10 or 15 yards of him. But man, I think if Cedric Tillman stays healthy, if that scumbag from Akron doesn't twist his ankles and get him going with that tightrope procedure that he had to undergo, I think Cedric Tillman was just a fantastic player, and the size and the speed that he had, just the physicality that he brought, the yak ability. I just think he's a perfect all-around receiver. And honestly, I'm still not letting go of him being a productive guy in the NFL at some point.
He's a starter right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think you saw him this past year really be able to emerge and show some of his talents. One of the, we haven't had too many 1,000-yard receivers in a while at Tennessee. And I believe it's him and Jalen Hyatt that have been those only two guys that have eclipsed that mark in the Josh Heupel era. So my mind automatically goes to Cedric Tillman whenever I think of 2021.
Cedric is also like that came out of nowhere, and that was one of the more bonkers just developments, which is great. I mean, the Alabama game, he went off. I'm trying to think, what was the other big ones, I guess, in 21 that you would say?
Georgia, he had a great game against, right?
Georgia, he did have a good game.
Yeah.
That opening drive was fantastic against Georgia. I was in the stands with the wife, and I was talking some mess early on because I made a bet with my buddies back home in Georgia where I was like, guarantee you Tennessee's winning after the end of the first quarter. Guaranteed. Don't talk to me about the third and fourth quarter, but first quarter, lock it in.
15 minutes. Give me 15 minutes.
Lock it in. And they did. I mean, it was pretty great. Like Javonte Payton got a pass interference on Keely Ringo in the end zone, and then Velus Jones out of the backfield. A lot of creativity that we have not seen. Like motion slot guy right there out of the backfield was pretty good. I'd like to see some of that back.
Absolutely.
But the what if of 22 Tillman, because of where he started, like the Pitt game with 20 plus targets and how comfortable Hooker was, like Hyatt doesn't win the Blitnikoff if Hooker doesn't get hurt in the Akron game. And like you said, he goes to tightrope surgery, and then he's just not the same the rest of the year. Like he's okay, but he's not the same. But Keaton was a role player, so Hyatt became the vocal point. It's kind of like what happened in 20 in Neyland Stadium when Jalen Waddle got hurt, and then because he was the main guy for Mac Jones in Alabama that year, and then Devontae Smith steps in, and it's like it's the Devontae show, and he ends up winning the Heisman, but he doesn't win the Heisman if Waddle doesn't get hurt at Tennessee. And it's just kind of one of those things where Hyatt doesn't become a superstar without Cedric Tillman getting hurt, I don't think. Right?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's those what ifs that you always think about, and it's like, man, what if this injury didn't happen? If one play doesn't go this way, how does multiple guys, professional careers kind of pan out? And I think that's a good comparison there, because the way that you had to kind of shift that wide receiver room after that Cedric Tillman injury, it ended up working out pretty well for you. But I mean, I do wonder just what would that season have looked like if you had Tillman kind of as that clear number one guy in that room,
especially in Athens. Like if he was just 100% in that game and Hyatt was 100%.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you would have won, but I would have liked to have seen what that looked like.
Would have been a lot more competitive.
Yeah, and if you go back and watch that game, I will still maintain. If you go back and watch the 22 Georgia-Tennessee game, Tennessee dropped 3 big-time bombs from Hooker that they had been hitting on all season long, especially like LSU. They were like LSU plays, like the shot plays that Hendon Hooker was just feasting on, that just they did not bring in. A couple, one was Tillman, one was Hyatt. But if you go back and look, you're like, those are just the difference. Because like Tennessee doesn't take those shots all game long, but they were bombs away in Death Valley doing things like that against Kentucky and other schools like that. They were connecting, and it just, if you don't connect on a couple of those in Athens, like it's not going to happen. And I think that's like you're cooked. Like you got
the deep balls. Let's get
them.
this off. It gets this offense rolling. It gets defenses on their toes, and it keeps them guessing. And I think that's what has been such a crutch of this offense in the past couple years, and especially last year. You were so close to one of those, and there's that 2-minute long compilation of Nico missing deep shots that's been going out around the internet over the last few days, and you look at that and you're like, man, I wouldn't have been complaining about this offense if we just hit 1-2 of those a game type of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. That's hopefully one that you can get back into the fold here for 2025.
I mean, even in the Kentucky game, Nico should have had 4 TDs and 400 yards, but Nimrod and Brazel had 2 touchdown drops.
Yeah.
So it's like
I don't even want to think about that game. That was one where you're like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, this is Kentucky. Yeah. Can we figure this out?
I was thinking about first half of the majority of this game. I just the last 2 years offensively have been a lot. They've been a lot. I've aged a lot here.
This is the year. We're turning it around this year.
Merc, baby. Like, it's time to let
You're not gonna let that one go until we name a starter.
I'm right. Like, it's Merc. It's Merklinger until I'm always going to say, go to the 247 Sports player profile from his high school tape, Calvary Day, read it, and then read Hendon Hooker's, and then tell me who this sounds like. Tell me who Jake Merklinger as a prospect sounds like. There might be something to it.
We need to get some Jake Merklinger shirts made out in the back for you, Chase, and for you to really carry the fight for these guys.
Atlanta and Syracuse, if they named Joey Aguilar QB1, let's get some merch. Like, we got to go. There are dozens of us. Sam. I'm not going to quit. I'm a believer in the Merc narrative. I don't know. I need to brand this somehow.
I love the passion. Yeah, you got to figure out a good slogan. That's the key here.
Merklinger, Ty Simpson in the SEC championship. Who says no, Sam?
Me.
I know you do. It's tough, but he's going to be good, and Bama's going to win the SEC, unfortunately.
That's not something I want to see, but
I don't either. But it's just Ty Simpson's going to be a Heisman finalist, and you're going to hate it.
It's in the air. I am going to hate it.
It's the broccoli with the Office situation where you're just you're not going to like it.
We'll see.
We can listen to you Monday through Friday on Under Review with Bob Baskerville, 11 to what am I doing?
10 to 1.
10 to 1.
10 to 1.
It's been a long day, Sam. 10 to 1 Under Review with Bob Baskerville and Sam Beard. You can listen to it on FanRun Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that FanRun Radio app. Now back on YouTube, so you can also watch us Monday through Friday on our YouTube channel, X, and Facebook as well. So all kinds of different ways to keep up with Sam and all the great work he's doing over there at Under Review. Sam, thank you for the time. I greatly appreciate it, and we'll check back in again soon.
Absolutely, Chase. Always a good time. Appreciate it, man.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.